In this video, we're going to be diving into part 3 of the Throwback 2-stroke garage build shootout rebuilds by Lectron Fuel Systems. Let's go. Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and if you guys are new, my name is Greg Hitchko. This channel specializes in dirt bike builds, moto how-tos, product reviews, and in this project rebuild series, I've taken all of the last generation Japanese 2-strokes, including the Honda, Kawasaki, Suzuki, and Yamaha, doing garage builds for all of them, and then throwing them in a shootout style format like you see every year with the new bikes at the end of the project. So this is pretty much where I left you guys off during the first video. I assembled all of the bikes into these rolling chassis. I thought it'd be really cool to get pictures of them, and I've never really done a build with just like a rolling chassis like this. If you guys saw the part 2 video, I went through and dumped out my Yz250 engine, which came in a box, pieces in bags, dumped it all out on the table, spread it all out, make sure I had every single piece for that engine rebuild. Since then, I went through and rebuilt all of the engines. The Kawasaki just needed a top end rebuild, but the Honda, Suzuki, and Yamaha all got fresh, complete engine rebuilds thanks to Wrench Rabbit, Vertex, Hot Rods bearings, as well as being topped off with sweet Fathead Racing heads, thanks to Luke at Fathead Racing for those. So the reason why I didn't provide you guys with an engine rebuild video yet is because I went through and filmed step-by-step procedure videos of how to completely rebuild those engines. So those are gonna be up on my page a little bit later coming up, but if you guys are also in the market to rebuild your own engines, I've got all the videos for the teardowns on my channel right now, and like I said, the rebuilds will be coming up shortly. So for this video, all the engines are going to be in those frames right there. We're also going to put the cooling systems on, aka the radiators, all the hoses, as well as all the electrical systems that are going to go on these bikes. And then if we have time, we're going to go ahead and throw all the front brakes on these bikes as well. So as I just mentioned, I've got all the radiator hoses laid out as well as the electrical systems. Over here, we got radiators ready to go. And so in the top left, we got the Honda, top right Kawasaki, bottom left Suzuki, and then bottom right Yamaha. These are all cleaned up with my Prime MX pads, and I did my best to try to take out all of the bent fins in the radiators. I think I did a pretty good job. They're not 100% perfect, but they will be good enough for government work. Well, up next, we've got all of the engine mounts and hardware, and these were all cleaned up with my Prime MX buffing wheels as well. These things were looking nasty, so they are looking nice and fresh and ready to go. So all the way to the right, we've got the Yamaha. Right here, we've got the Suzuki. There is a third engine mount for the Suzuki. I'm gonna show you guys that later on in the video. Then we've got the Kawasaki, followed by the Honda. So I'm sure you guys don't give a crap about the radiators, the engine mounting bolts, etc. How about we talk about these engines? So you probably saw it in the thumbnail, so I'm not really hiding anything, but what do we have under this first bag here? And it is the Honda engine. So obviously this thing is looking a little funky, as you guys can tell. It does not have the cylinder on it and the piston, and that is because I needed to get the cylinder re-sleeved. So here's the deal with the cylinder. I took it off, and after looking at it a little bit closer, there was just this weird deep notch in the front of the cylinder. I don't know how it happened. The bike was running when I got it, so I don't know how long it had been running with that little notch in the cylinder here that you see. If I was just rebuilding this bike for fun and I wasn't doing a throwback 2-stroke garage build shootout and wanted the playing field to be even, I would have just bored it out to like a 265 and everything would have been good. It probably would have been a couple $100. But for this project, I had to go the more expensive route because unfortunately it already had the sleeve in there. I needed to get this thing re-sleeved back to OEM spec, and I haven't gotten it back yet. It's gonna be about a little over $400 to get that thing re-sleeved. Definitely wasn't something that I was looking forward to paying, but doing this project, I kind of dug myself in this hole, and here we are. I want to make it even for you guys, and then I want this bike to be perfect when I give it away at the end of the project. All right, so that was the Honda. What do we have behind bag number 2? Oh, shit. And we have the Kawasaki engine. I went with just a silver fathead right here. I think it's gonna look really good on the bike. I've seen some bikes go this kind of like burnt bronze color that Luke has, which looks also really cool. Black also looks good on the Kawasaki's, but I thought I would just go with the super clean look and go with the silver. Moving on to bag number 3. That came off a lot easier. And we've got the Suzuki engine. So went with a black fathead on this. Everything is all vapor blasted, cleaned up, Prime MX pads on the engine covers as well as the valve covers. But I am pumped to have the Suzuki engine all buttoned up. And finally, last but not least, we have got the Yz250 engine here. Super clean, vapor blasted. So the one thing about the Yamaha is that it did come with this Boysen impeller, and I didn't feel like spending money on a stock one, so this thing is going to be rocking this magnesium color Boyson water pump impeller. So curious to see how that operates once the bike is up and running. So again, guys, if you've been following the build series, you know that I vapor blasted every single engine part on here, as well as used the Prime MX pads to clean up all these valve covers and then the side clutch covers and the ignition covers as well. And if you guys are interested in any vapor blasting done, I've got a Weekend Warrior Vapor Blaster by Vapor Honing Technologies. Shoot me an email at hitchmotoko@gmail.com. I can get all of your engine parts cleaned up, vapor blasted, so they can be looking just as good or probably even better, because I'll care a lot more when vapor blasting your parts. So definitely shoot me an email if you guys are interested in that. And then as well, these fat heads just look so good. It's so cool to see them all four together, all four of the different colors. And if you guys want a discount with Luke at Fathead Racing, use the code GREG10 in all caps, GREG10 in all caps, then you'll save some money with Luke at Fathead Racing. They're made from billet to withstand higher heat temperatures. They have increased cooling capacity, which results in keeping your bike cooler. And when your bike is able to run cooler, that equals more power longer. So that's another feature of those. And also these domes are completely removable. So this is the stock compression dome here. Luke also has high compression domes if you want to squeeze a little bit more power out of your motors. And what's cool about these, if you do have a catastrophic motor failure and you need to replace the head, with these heads, all you need to do is replace the dome, so you don't need to go out and purchase a brand new head. And alongside with all those cool features, they just look bad arse. And you can do any custom engraving like you see here. I just went with the simple Fathead Racing here. Really stoked to have these on the bikes, the engines, and they're just gonna be looking so cool. All right, I was gonna do some random number generator to figure out which motor I'm gonna put in first, but I'm literally just gonna start with the Honda and go down in alphabetical order. So let's get this Honda bottom end into the frame first. The Honda's definitely going to be easiest because I have the most working quarters right here, but I definitely didn't leave myself too much room. I guess I can kind of scoot that YZ out a little bit farther, but what I'm going to do is install all the engines from the right side, and then all the bolts are going to be installed through the left side. With these rolling chassis first, I do need to take out the swing arm bolt. Not that big of a deal because the swing arm bolt does go through the back of the engine. So let's get these swing arm bolts out and then get this bottom end in. Let's get down and dirty and see how hard it is to get this engine in to these rolling frames. I've never done it like this before, so here we go. It's a lot easier when the top end is not in it. That was not bad at all. Oh man, I'm already so jacked up. So what I'm gonna do first is put this top engine mounting bolt in, and then the engine will be able to kind of pivot a little bit easier so I can get that swing arm bolt in, and then I'm gonna go for the bottom mounting bolt last. Got a washer and then the nut. All right, so let's see how easy it is to get that swing arm bolt on next. So you've got the engine back there and doesn't quite line up with the swing arm. I think I'm gonna have to lift the rear wheel up just a little bit, kind of drive the bolt through the frame and the swing arm first, and then lift the rear wheel up to kind of position that swing arm in between the engine, and then slide the rest of the thing through. This thing is already well greased up from the first time I put it through, but just make sure that you throw some maximum grease on it before you go ahead and insert the swing arm pivot bolt, because you definitely don't want it seizing up inside the swing arm or the engine for that matter. Easier than I thought, so far so good. I'm gonna go ahead and throw the nut back on. Now I'm not gonna get everything torqued down just yet, because once I have all the engine mounting bolts on and the front brakes, I'm gonna take the bike off the stand. I'm gonna push the suspension up and down, kind of rock it back and forth so this engine kind of settles in its natural place, and as well as the swing arm and everything, and then I'll go ahead and torque everything down once I've got that all done. Little trick I learned from Cameron DeMillo, so I'm gonna show you guys a little bit later. That went through pretty easy, and then finally the washer and the bolt. If I'm already this pumped for half an engine to be in only one of these bikes, I can't imagine how exciting it's gonna feel for all the engines to be in all these bikes. Since we've got an open bottom end here, what I am gonna do is just throw the plastic bag back over this engine so nothing drops in there while I wait for the top end to be done. All right, we got a little space in the formation opened up here so I can get that Yz250 motor and that kiwi green powder coated frame thanks to Armor Coatings here in Salt Lake City. Doesn't quite go with the the JS250 05 model that I'm going with, but like I said, you guys voted for it on Instagram, and I'm excited to see the JS250 in this green frame. Just have to go ahead and admire these engines real quick, because this is the cleanest that they are going to be before they hit the dirt. All right, this one's gonna be a little bit more interesting because the motor is actually complete, a little bit heavier and less easy to maneuver around into the frame. Without the top end, it's way easier to throw the bottom end in, but let's give it a shot with this KX. It's kind of getting caught on the shock. So I'm gonna drop the bottom end. I just needed to rotate it a little bit. There we go. So that first method seems to work great with throwing the first front engine mounting bolt in, then the swing arm pivot bolt, followed by the bottom engine mounting bolt. Then we'll take it one step further with the Kawasaki with these engine hangers. Again, all the bolts are coming from the left side of the bike. The nuts are gonna be on the right side. And then it does look like we have some lock washers here, so I'm just gonna get these tightened down a little bit more. Again, I'm gonna get them snug down, not completely torqued down because I am gonna take the bike off the stand, kind of rock it back and forth a little bit, and then get everything else tightened down after that. And just like that, a Kawasaki engine is in a Kawasaki frame. Next up, we got the Rm250 motor, and I am super excited to get this thing into the frame because when I took this bike apart, it was just completely hammered as you see here. I don't even think I see a speck of silver case. It's pretty much just completely covered in dirt. So let's go ahead and get this fresh Rm250 engine into the frame. All right, let's get this puppy in here. Okay, hands are both stuck. That seemed a lot easier than the KX. Ooh, the wiring. All right, we're in. Didn't realize how bright that sun was, guys, my bad. But we're gonna start with getting this top bolt in first. We're gonna go to the other side, and there's another mounting bracket that I'm gonna put on for the Suzuki that's unique to the Suzuki and not the other bikes. So the bolt comes through right here, and then there are two mounting holes right here for another bracket which connect to this mounting bolt right here. This bracket only really goes on one way. So we're gonna line it up with the two holes on the frame, and then gonna push that bolt through. And then we still have the two smaller bolts that go through the bracket, and they're gonna come from the left side again over to the right side. So that's really the only difference between the Suzuki motor and the other motors is this little kind of side bracket here. Then we got this sweet swing arm bolt. Kind of lift up on the rear wheel a little bit. And then again, last but not least is the Yz250 engine. So this thing wasn't even together, as you guys know, when I got the bike. I don't even know what it looks like in the bike. So I think I'm even more excited to put the engine in the Yamaha than I am in the Suzuki. So let's go ahead and get this thing in. Same thing, I'm gonna come from the right side. Let's see how easy this goes in. Oh, forgot to take out the swing arm bolt. I was getting too excited. I was getting ahead of myself there. Now we're ready to make this thing happen. I don't know what the best way to do this here is. Ooh, we are not in the swing arm. And like we've been doing, first bolt is gonna be the front engine mounting bolt, followed by the swing arm pivot bolt, and then finally the bottom engine mounting bolt. And then these engine hangers are gonna mount super similar to that Suzuki. The bottom one here is the thicker one that's gonna go through the head. And then on these top two, there's washers on each side, so just take note of that if you're a YZ guy. So this is what the Yamaha looks like with an engine in it. It's definitely been quite some time since this thing has seen an engine. And don't worry about this Honda, we'll be getting this top end in no time. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna get all the wiring harnesses assembled on the bike before I go ahead and throw the radiators on. What I'm gonna do too is actually refer to old pictures. Otherwise, it's pretty confusing about how the wiring should go on these bikes, especially this Honda with the servo motor just adds an extra element of wires in there. So I'm gonna refer to some old photos and then throw this wiring on. So I've just been trying to make sense of this Honda wiring harness. So I got the servo motor finally unclipped. I swear, if anybody's like me, these clips will seriously be the death of me. I can't figure them out until I figure them out, and then it's just so stupidly obvious. So if anybody has issues with these clips, definitely leave a comment below. I don't know if I'm the only one who does, but it's just ridiculous. So I'm actually not gonna put that on until the top end goes on. I don't know, we'll see. But time to get this CDI box on. I'm gonna feed everything through here, the triple clamps. Everything is gonna go through on this side. All right, then it looks like everything is just kind of gonna swing in through this slot here and go on the other side of the frame. So then coming from the motor down here, this is where that ignition is going to click into. And then on this side here, there's kind of like a little triplet coupler here, which is supposed to mount to the frame through like a rivet or something. Couldn't figure out how to get these clips off, so I ripped the rivet out. So I'm going to have to use some zip ties to zip tie this thing back to the frame. Now knowing how to get those clips off, there's literally a little clip in the back there. You kind of pull on it, and then boom, those should just pop out. So now you guys know and don't make that same dumb mistake that I did. Not the best looking thing, but I don't think that's gonna go anywhere. So if I'm not mistaken, this is the coupler that's supposed to connect to the carburetor, and with the Lectron that I'm gonna be putting on it, I'm not gonna need this. So basically with the Lectron, you would just duct tape this up, or if you had the carburetor, the wiring from the carburetor would connect right there. All right, then this wiring here is gonna be pulled up through the frame, and then we're gonna get it mounted up right here. Servo motor is going to get mounted from this side of the frame here. Wire is going to stick through, and then we got 2 bolts right here. And then we've got 2 nuts on this side to tighten up to secure that servo motor. So these 2 wires here are for the RC valve, the revolution control valve. If you guys watched my video of the last generation Honda, I said it was a remote control valve. That is an honest mistake on my part. I don't even know why that even came out. I think it was just because of RC cars back in the day. It was just like habit. And then these 2 wires will connect right behind the RC cover on the cylinder. Then this last dangling wire right here is the kill switch. Got the button all hooked up, and then we'll get it through the fork tube and then tighten down onto the handlebar. Kawasaki's a little bit easier here. So we've got this mounting plate for the CDI box, and that just gets screwed into the frame. Then we can get everything fished through the frame here, and then we'll get the box screwed in right here. Harness wire kind of gets fished through there. And then this green plug here is a TPS sensor, which I've already got duct taped up from the last build that I did with the Lectron. So just kind of hang out right there. I got to re-duct tape that. And then the spark plug wire is going to be fed over to this side of the frame. This blue wire here, and then this little black wire here, all kind of connect. Then for this one, we can throw the spark plug cap on. And the kill switch gets plugged in right here. And that's going to get wrapped around to the front of the frame, then secured onto the bar. All right, so we're looking at similar vibes for this RM. And then this will connect together like this. So for the remainder, we have the throttle position sensor here on the Suzuki, this coupler, and then the solenoid coupler right here that goes to the carburetor. With the Lectron, I know we're not gonna need the throttle position sensor, but I do not know about the solenoid one. I don't think we're gonna need those either. So we're just gonna have to tuck these up and kind of get them out of the way. But this one right here is the kill switch. Go ahead and get that connected together at least. All right, let's get this Yamaha wired up for you guys. Took some good pictures of this. So the CDI box is actually gonna go on the side of the frame right here. Then we're just gonna get everything pushed through to this side of the frame. Then we're gonna get the spark plug hooked up right here. And while we're here, the cap might as well go on the spark plug. I gotta figure out where this connects so it just doesn't like dangle there. Then this gray coupler is where the kill switch goes. After looking at some pictures of some YZs online, I don't know, just looks like there's some zip ties that run up the frame. All you Y-zingers out there, if this is the right process, there must be some type of like OEM, like factory zip tie that comes with it, but it doesn't look like I have them for this bike. So I'm just gonna tighten these up with some zip ties here. Taking a look at the fresh wiring harnesses all cleaned up on the bike. You can tell from the before pictures here that it was just ridiculous, so dirty. Still gotta figure out what I'm gonna do with that carburetor wire on the YZ. Here's some before pictures of the RM. Now we'll come in and look at some after video here. Nice and clean, no issues whatsoever. Didn't really have to worry about the KX too much because it was already clean when I took it apart for the most part. Wasn't dirty like the other bikes. And then here's some before pictures of the Honda. Not too bad, but definitely a little bit dirty. Taking a look at the inside here where the servo motor is, spark plug wire, and then all the other wiring. So moving on, that was a lot, going bike by bike, throwing the engines in each one of the bike, filming that, and recording the complete wiring harness installations. So what I'm gonna do now is install the radiators as well as the radiator hoses. I'm not really gonna film every single installation process of each of the bikes. I might hit a radiator on the Honda, hit a radiator on the Kawasaki, and then throw some hoses on the RM and the YZ. Actually, after thinking about it, that's what probably I'm gonna do. So let's dive into that right now. Oh, and if you guys have been following Throwback 2-stroke garage build shootout by Lectron Fuel Systems, do not forget that at the end of this project, after the end of the shootout is done filming, you guys have a chance to win all of these bikes behind me right here. So if you're enjoying the content on the project, go ahead and punch the like button on the video. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel because you're not gonna wanna miss when I actually announce that giveaway for all of these bikes. But now guys, it's time to get back to it. All right guys, so we're already calling an audible on the CR here. So I was trying to line up the radiator to put it onto the frame and just realized just like the spouts coming out of the radiator here, they would just get in the way of my top end rebuild here for the video that I wanted to do. And for the sake of that Honda engine rebuild video, I'm gonna be taking the bottom end out of this frame anyway. So it's just one less thing that I have to maneuver this engine around to get it out and then a full complete motor back in. I'm sure it could be done, but I'm really just not trying to finagle with that. So I'm gonna continue on with the Kawasaki, Suzuki, and Yamaha and just kind of let this Honda be. So all you Honda fans have got to wait a little bit longer to see this bike get put together. And then the Kawasaki's also have this radiator brace right here. So as if we were going to continue the process with the KX, I've got the right radiator onto the RM now, and now we need to fit the left radiator on the RM. But before we go ahead and do that, we need to put the radiator hoses that go across through the frame at the top and at the bottom as well. So let's get this left side radiator on now. Time to get the radiator hoses on this Yamaha. So this long one is gonna go here. Then that's gonna go over the hole in the fat head. So in terms of the clamps and kind of where the screw is on the clamps, I like to put the screw in spots where it doesn't interfere with anything or it's kind of hidden or unseen. So for example, here with the cylinder head, I wouldn't want to put the screw head over here because then it's going to crowd over with the spark plug. So I just kind of put it in front of the motor here, in front of the cylinder head. And then for the clamp on the top, I'd like to just put the screw on the inside. It's kind of hidden out of the way like that. Then similarly with the hose on the other side, kind of scooch that up on the radiator first. I'm going to slide it over the water pump down below. So there we go, that is the final setup on the Yamaha here. So you got the hose on the left, followed by the hose on the bottom right radiator connecting to the water pump impeller. And it's really the same thing on the other bikes too. So on the Suzuki, you've got the same thing with the left radiator. The hose is coming from the top there, and then it's going straight into the fat head on the top of the cylinder. And then on the right side, it's a little bit longer than the Yamaha, but that's going down to the water pump on the right bottom side of the motor there. Here's what it looks like on the Kawasaki. So it seems a little bit crowded just because of that perimeter frame there. But again, the radiator hose on the left side come from the top left into the fat head cylinder and actually goes to the rear of the cylinder. That's just the design on the Kawasaki's. Looking at the bottom right side of the radiator now, it comes down to the water pump impeller, which is right down there. So unfortunately for this video, not gonna be able to put the Honda radiators on, but you can see here how it's just a little bit different. I got a hose coming from both the top of each side of the radiator, and it's coming into this main hose at the bottom, which this then goes to the cylinder. This definitely can't be the right orientation of that. This is probably supposed to be cocked a little bit that way. And then you got two radiator hoses here. But we are simply gonna have to save the radiator hoses as well as the radiator installation for the next video for the CR250. But for now, how about we go and finish up this video with some front brakes, and then we can go back and torque all of the engine bolts as well as the engine hanger bolts for all the engines that are currently in the bikes. So you're gonna be getting this thing filled up with some Maxima .4 brake fluid. So that's gonna work perfectly for dirt bikes. All right, let's spin this wheel. Test the brakes, looking good. That's that feeling that we're all searching for. You know what happens when you can stop fast? You can go fast. All right guys, so early in the video, like I said, I didn't go through and torque all the engine bolts yet. because I had this special way to do it thanks to Cameron and Milla. So since the bolts are only hand tight, what we're gonna do is go ahead and align the chassis. So I've got the front brakes on. That's the reason why I wanted to put the front brake on. So I'm gonna hold the front brake and just kind of push down on the frame and the suspension like this. And then we're gonna go through and torque all those bolts with the bike off the stand, just kind of with the weight of the bike on the chassis. And the idea here is so that the chassis and kind of the suspension, the linkage, all kind of find its natural home when you do a complete rebuild like this. So we're gonna start with the swing arm pivot bolt, get that torqued up first, just basically because that is the center mark of the bike. And then we're gonna go around the engine, starting at the bottom, the center, get the engine hanger bolts. Then we're gonna torque down the shock as well as the linkage. So let's reach back here, get the swing arm pivot bolt torqued up. Then we got 36 foot-pounds here for this bottom engine bolt. And then same for this front one here, 36 foot-pounds. Probably have to hold the other side with a wrench as well. Then for the engine hanger itself, we've got 36 on this bottom one here. And then these two top ones are gonna be 22 foot-pounds. Then we have this upper shock bolt, which is 29 foot-pounds. The lower, which is 25. And then these linkage guys here, we're looking at 61 foot-pounds. All right, but it is finally time to wrap this video up, guys. We are definitely steps closer to getting this Throwback two-stroke garage build shootout project by Lectron Fuel Systems almost done here. So unfortunately for the Honda, we're gonna have to wait till we get that cylinder in the following week, but we're gonna finish up with that engine rebuild filming and then throw the engine in as well as the radiators and hoses. But super pumped to have these motors in the bikes. It just really feels like they're actually becoming bikes now, as well as the radiators and the wiring harnesses. I'm trying to figure out which one I like the best, and I'm not really sure which one I'm feeling, but just overall, each of them kind of have their unique things that make them super cool. The Boyson water pump cover is the one thing that the Yamaha is gonna have that the other bikes are not gonna have, but thanks to Luke with Fathead Racing, outfitting these engines with all of the fat heads on here, the blue one on the Yamaha, the black one on the Suzuki, silver on the Kawasaki, and then red eventually on that Honda. And if you guys are interested in a fathead of your own, use the code Greg10 in all caps with Luke at Fathead Racing to save yourself some cash there. But you guys keep hearing me say that the Throwback two-stroke garage build shootout project is presented by Lectron Fuel Systems, and I am finally getting a delivery from them the day after this video drops tomorrow, and it's definitely going to be a special one that you're not going to want to miss. So this video is going to be dropping, followed by the Lectron video not too shortly after that, because we got something special to show you guys that Lectron just dropped, and I couldn't be more excited that these things are going to be on the bikes, the Throwback two-stroke garage build shootout. If you guys enjoyed the content today, make sure you go punch that like button for me, subscribe to the channel, go catch up on the rest of the Throwback two-stroke garage build shootout project. You can catch videos of all the individual bikes, Honda, Kawasaki, Suzuki, and Yamaha as well. But I always appreciate you guys watching. As always, ride hard, be safe, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.